The quiet after the war. The war between humanity and the Zarvath Dominion had ended 5 standard years ago, but to Sergeant Marcus Hale, the silence of peace still felt unnatural. He had spent 12 years in the service of the Terran Federation, 12 years of explosions, plasma fire, and screams across the void. Now, at 37, he found himself stationed on a backwater colony moon called Varela 9, a barren sphere of dust and coral blue skies, serving as a peacekeeper among alien civilians who once saw humans as monsters. His quarters were small, a repurposed Zarvathi storage module lined with metal crates. Every night, he would polish his prosthetic arm, a polished titanium replacement for the one he'd lost in the siege of Run. It whirred quietly, reminding him that he was part machine, part memory. Varela 9 was officially neutral ground now, home to thousands of Zarvathi families displaced by the war. The Federation had sent only a handful of human soldiers as liaisons, to help rebuild infrastructure and maintain security. Most locals still avoided eye contact, but Marcus didn't blame them. He had seen what humans did to their cities. One quiet morning, as he patrolled the dusty streets of the settlement, Marcus noticed a group of Zarvathi children crouched beside a broken object, a small, silver toy shaped like a floating orb with tiny wings. The children, with their pale violet skin and luminous eyes, whispered to one another in clicks and tones. When Marcus approached, they froze like startled birds. "Hey!" he said softly, crouching down. "It's okay. I'm not here to hurt anyone." One of the children, a small girl with blue frills along her head, hesitantly held up the toy. It was cracked open, internal circuits exposed. Marcus recognized it as a Korowing, a levitating play drone popular among Zarvathi kids before the war. He had seen them flying over enemy camps long ago, unaware they were just toys. "It doesn't fly anymore," the girl said in broken galactic common. Marcus smiled faintly. "Maybe I can fix it." To the toy in the past. He took the toy back to his outpost workshop, the kids following him at a cautious distance. Inside, amid spare parts and old field gear, Marcus began to examine the Korowing. Its power core was burnt out, an easy enough fix with the right materials. As he worked, the children huddled close, whispering in their native tongue. He spoke while soldering, more to fill the silence than anything. "You know," he said, "when I was your age I had a toy plane. Broke once too. My father fixed it for me." He paused. "Guess I learned something from him after all." The smallest child tilted his head. "Your people broke our homes." Marcus stopped mid-solda. The words hit harder than any plasma round. He took a slow breath. "Yes," he said. "We did. And I'm sorry. Can't change that. But I can fix this toy." He powered the Korowing. The orb hummed, lifted into the air, and hovered gently in a circle. The children gasped, the sound pure, innocent. They reached out, laughing as it floated around them. For the first time in years, Marcus smiled without guilt. But as he watched them play, a deep tremor rumbled through the ground. The laughter died. Sirens wailed across the settlement. The children scattered as the sky darkened with a massive shadow. Marcus rushed outside. From the heavens descended a colossal vessel, black, angular, and unmistakably Zarvathi military. It bore the ancient insignia of the Iron Throne, a crimson spiral burning against the hull. "No," Marcus muttered. "It can't be." The ship landed in a storm of dust. From its lower bay emerged a towering figure, 8 feet tall, armored in black alloy that shimmered with magnetic energy. His eyes glowed like molten steel. The Iron Emperor had returned. The Iron Emperor's return. The Iron Emperor, once ruler of the Zarvathi Dominion, had been presumed dead at the end of the war. His empire had collapsed when his flagship was destroyed in orbit above Run. But here he stood, alive, his armor gleaming with new power. Zarvathi civilians dropped to their knees in fear and reverence. Marcus stood frozen, his pulse racing. He'd fought at Run. He knew this being's legend. The Iron Emperor had slaughtered entire regiments single-handedly with his magnetokinetic armor. When the Emperor spoke, his voice vibrated through the air like thunder. "Children of Zarvath," he proclaimed, "your exile ends. The Dominion rises again." The crowd murmured, half in awe, half in terror. Marcus stepped forward, hand instinctively on his plasma rifle. The Emperor's gaze fell upon him. "A human soldier," the Emperor said with disdain. "A relic of the invaders." "I'm a peacekeeper," Marcus replied steadily. "This colony is under Federation protection." "Peace!" the Emperor roared, raising a hand. Metal debris from the ground shivered, lifted, and formed a sphere of jagged shards that hovered menacingly. "Your kind burned my cities, annihilated our fleets. You offer peace now after ashes." Marcus didn't lower his weapon. "Maybe we're both tired of fighting." The Emperor stepped closer. "You have repaired a toy for our young, I see." A trivial gesture, but even that act carries meaning. He extended a hand, and the Korowing drifted from the air toward him. He studied it for a moment, the glowing orb reflected in his metallic eyes. "Compassion," he said quietly. "A human showing compassion to Zarvathi children. Perhaps the galaxy has changed more than I imagined." Then his tone hardened. "But mercy does not rebuild empires." 4. Shadows of War. Within hours, the settlement was under occupation. The Iron Emperor's soldiers, remnants of the Old Dominion army, emerged from the ship armed and disciplined. They declared the colony a sovereign Zarvathi territory once more. Marcus was disarmed, detained, and confined to his outpost. But he could hear the fear in the streets. The Emperor was recruiting again, calling upon the old hatred of humanity. And many were answering. He sat in the dim cell, his repaired prosthetic resting on his knee. The children he'd helped were nowhere to be seen. He hoped they'd escaped into the desert. That night, a faint tapping came at the door. It opened slightly, and the blue-frilled girl slipped inside, clutching the Korowing. "They took everyone's food," she whispered. "The Emperor says the humans will come again, and we must fight." Marcus crouched to her level. "You need to leave, find shelter in the caves west of the colony." She shook her head. "He wants to find you. He said you are dangerous." Marcus exhaled slowly. "He's not wrong." The choice. Marcus knew what he had to do. When dawn came, he forced open the door using the servos in his prosthetic arm and slipped into the streets. The Emperor's guards patrolled in pairs, their armor humming with power. Marcus scavenged his old rifle and a comm unit from the armory. He called for Federation command, but the signal was jammed. There would be no rescue. Near the landing field, the Iron Emperor stood before a massive transmitter array, addressing his troops. "By nightfall," he declared, "we will launch a beacon to summon the lost fleets of the Dominion. The age of Zarvath shall begin anew." Marcus crept closer, using the wreckage of a transport shuttle for cover. His plan was simple, suicidal. Overload the ship's power core to destroy the transmitter. It would cripple the Emperor's revival before it began. But then he saw them, the same children from before, huddled near the edge of the platform, being herded toward the Emperor. One of his lieutenants barked. These ones sheltered the human. Execute them. Marcus didn't think. He broke from cover, rifle blazing. Plasma bolts tore through the air. Zarvathi soldiers fell. The Emperor turned, energy crackling around him like lightning. You, he bellowed. Marcus rolled behind a pillar, firing bursts to cover the children. Run, he shouted. Go! The Emperor raised his hand, and Marcus's rifle tore itself from his grip, ripped through the air, and shattered against the ground. A surge of magnetic force hurled him backward. He slammed into a wall, his prosthetic arm sparking. The Emperor advanced, cloak of molten metal swirling. You could have lived, soldier. But you chose defiance. Marcus struggled to his feet, pain burning through his chest. You talk about rebuilding your empire, but all I see is a man scared to live without war. The Emperor's expression darkened. War is the forge of strength. Then you've never known peace, Marcus said. And with his last strength, he triggered the remote detonator wired to the ship's reactor. 6. The fire and the sky, the explosion lit up the horizon. The shockwave flattened the platform, hurling debris across the valley. Marcus was thrown to the ground, metal shards embedding into his side. He heard the Emperor's roar, a sound of rage and disbelief. The ship's power core erupted, tearing through the atmosphere in a column of blue fire. The transmitter disintegrated. The Dominion fleet would never hear the call. As dust and smoke filled the air, Marcus crawled toward the children. The blue-frilled girl reached out, helping him up despite the burns on his arm. You did it, she whispered. He smiled weakly. Guess I fixed more than a toy this time. Behind them, from the heart of the blast, the Iron Emperor rose once more. His armor molten but intact. He staggered, energy flickering erratically. His voice was a guttural growl. You cannot stop destiny. Marcus stood between him and the children. Maybe not. But I can stop you. He lunged forward, driving his damaged prosthetic arm into the Emperor's chest. The overload of energy from the arm's power cells met the unstable reactor in the Emperor's suit. There was a blinding flash. And then silence. 7. After the ashes, when Marcus awoke, the sun was rising. The Emperor's armor lay in pieces. His body nothing but twisted metal and ash. The children were safe, gathering around him. Federation rescue ships appeared hours later, drawn by the explosion. The colony was secured, and the remaining Zarvathi soldiers surrendered peacefully. Marcus was treated for his wounds. They said his heart had stopped twice. But when he recovered, the first thing he asked was about the children. They're alive, the medic told him. They've been asking when you'll fix their toy again. He laughed quietly. Tell them I'll need a new arm first. 8. Epilogue. The toy and the star. Months later, Varela 9 became a symbol of unity between humans and Zarvath. The children attended new schools, the colony rebuilt with both species working side by side. On a quiet afternoon, Marcus sat beneath the twin suns, watching the same group of children play with a repaired Corowing. It floated lazily through the air, casting tiny ripples of light across the sand. The blue-frilled girl ran up to him, smiling. My mother says you're leaving soon. He nodded. Yeah. There are other places that need fixing. She handed him the toy. For you. So you don't forget us. He smiled, taking the small, humming orb in his hand. I won't. As he looked to the horizon, he thought of the Iron Emperor, not as a villain, but as a ghost of the past that refused to die. Maybe they all were, in some way. But as the children laughed and the toy danced in the sunlight, Marcus knew the future was finally theirs to build. And for the first time since the war, he felt human again.